Jonathan, after months of giving him a chance, I have given up on my colleague, which I will label as Mr. Bossy Pants, who's been bossing me around as if I report to him. Can I get a letter R if you know someone like this? He's your teammate, he just happens to be older or more experienced, but he's acting like you have to follow what he says. I've had, my first ever job in a telecommunications company, I had this teammate. She was only 1 year older and she's assigning me tasks behind the back of my boss. And I had to tell this to my boss because apparently she's been pushing her job to me. I was 23 years old that time. Really bad. That was a traumatic experience. And this is why I'm so passionate giving these types of tips, because I don't want you guys to experience the same thing. Okay? So here's the issue. He asks me often if I've submitted my reports and comments a lot on my slides, even if I do not care about his feedback. He's hovering like a helicopter and it's irritating me. How do I manage a colleague who acts like my boss? If you notice on social media, I have lots of videos about this because it's very close to my heart. I've had this experience when I was younger. It's also a mild form of bullying, I'd like to think, right? Bullying in a sense that you're using the power of fear in order to make someone move. So what do you do about this kind of colleague? Well, here are a few tips. And may I ask first, which colleague or manager is the worst? Is it letter A, a boss who undermanages, meaning doesn't care about you? Is it a boss who micromanages, meaning everything that you do, right? She talks about it, she gives instructions, she corrects it. And then number 3, macro manager. What is a macro manager? Some people don't know this. A macro manager, macro meaning the bigger picture, everything. A macro manager is someone who tries to enter your department, who tries to do your work, even if it's outside her scope. She has nothing to do with it, but she wants to poke into it. Can I get a letter A, as in macro manager, if you can relate to that? Let's look at the chat box. Ooh, Sheena says power tripping. Very good. Ooh, Ramon, I can relate to this. Some nationalities feel that they are better than someone not of their race or their color. I wish I don't want to raise this, but unfortunately, I've experienced this. I've worked with a lot of multinational companies, and sometimes some people just think that we've done this in the past, therefore you should do it the way we do it, without even understanding the cultural rigors of why people act a certain way. So, yeah. Karen says, yep, it's a mild form of bullying. Very true. How about the rest? So people are typing, what is the worst? I would say the worst would be a micromanager. A macromanager, you can easily shut them down, which is going to be my tip for the next part. A micromanager is someone who's like every little detail, they nitpick on it just to make you feel bad. Okay? So let's talk about this part. What do you do about someone who macromanages? Macromanages meaning it's outside their turf. You don't report to them. You have no obligations to them. And yet they still look at your work. They still comment on your work. Some tips to consider. Number 1, seek first to understand. Sometimes you might want to ask yourself, this person must be busy also, because everyone's busy in the company. So why does the person take time to even put her nose into my job? So investigate why the person is acting like this. Could there be a reason why she's acting like that? Is he like this to everyone? What do you know about her past? Right? Is it a personality issue, or are you being singled out? Is there something that you did in the past that makes her not want to trust you, and that's why she is trying to nose around? Right? What do other people say about this person? The more you get to know these things, the more you get to understand what motivates the person to sneak in and act like that she's the boss. Okay. Number 2, please take note. Most folks macromanage because of 3 reasons. Number 1, people try to enter your scope of work because they're simply passionate about their job. Sometimes they don't know that they look like they are disturbing you, but at the back of their mind, they think that they're just being helpful. Can I get the letter H? If you know people like that. They don't know that they are irritating. They don't know that they are stepping into the line. They thought that they were simply being nice and helpful people, but maybe they're not. Okay? So sometimes a level of self-awareness is needed by these folks in this case. The second reason why some people macromanage is because maybe you're not stepping up to the plate and they think that if you don't work on it well, they will step in instead. And sometimes I do this. Sometimes even if it's not my job, but I think, she's the one on working on that project. It's such a waste. She's not doing a good job. Let me be the one to take over. Some people are just really like that. They love the job so much, but they think it's unfair that it went to the incompetent employee, so they're stepping in. Because they want what's best, not for you, perhaps, but for the larger benefit, for the bigger organization in this case. And finally, number 3, some people are projecting their own insecurities. Can I get a letter I if you can relate to that? I think this happens when someone is jealous of you. I think this happens when someone looks up to you and they think that you are stealing their thunder. So what they would do to make you feel bad is that they will comment on your work even if they're not sincere about it. Okay? So whatever the reason is, find a way to investigate. Ask people around. Be more observant with your choice of words. Look at the patterns on when they do it. Do they only do it alone when they are with you? Or do they avoid doing it when there is an audience? And if you notice that that happens, there is a primordial motivation. There's a reason that's darker than what appears to be. Okay? If this is the case, so let's assume that these are the situations that you face right now, here are a few tips for your next steps. Number 1, the best solution, which I find effective, is tell it to the person straight. Right? Can I get the letter S if you can relate to that? Right? Tell to the person straight. This person may not know that there is something wrong unless someone tells it to their face. However, don't say it as if you're antagonizing or burning bridges with a person. This is bad, especially if the person thought that they were helpful. They might think that you're the bad person. So use the formula, in this case, appreciate but blank. Okay? Can I get an exclamation mark if you can see that formula? Appreciate the person but blank. An example of that would be, hey John, I appreciate that you're helping me out, but I think I need to do this on my own so that I can learn. Hey Anna, I'm so thankful that you took the time to help this out, but I want you to also be able to concentrate on your own work. Let me do this work on my own. Okay? Can I get an exclamation mark? Do you see what I did there? So I did not push away the person as if they're bad for helping me out, because for all we know, some people are sincere about helping out. So appreciate and then state your reason. That is a good formula to apply in this case. All right? And then the next example would be show through gestures that you are stepping up. Sometimes one way to let go of a person, to shoo them away, is show them who's the real person in charge. So in meetings, and here's an example, I often see this in meetings. There's one person presiding the meeting, but because she's not confident enough to speak up, what happens? Someone takes over. Someone becomes the new host. Sometimes it's even the boss who takes over because the boss thinks that this person cannot speak confidently. Can I get an exclamation mark? If you know, I often notice that even in my virtual meetings on Zoom, when I talk to one HR person and the HR person is not able to answer my questions well, the HR head is going to step in. And sometimes I feel bad for the other person because it feels like she has just been told in front of her face that you're not good enough. So sometimes when you have these people who do this to you, so it's like a slap on your face, step up, be the one to show that I can do this on my own. The more you do this consistently, you might be able to notice that the person is not going to nose around anymore. Okay? So stepping up is the best way to shoo away those folks. Number 3, and again, I am not a big